So today we're going to be talking about all the times that the Muppets were featured in the Tournament of Roses parade. Let's talk about it. So, the Rose Parade, or better formerly known as the Tournament of Roses Parade, is an annual parade held every New Year's Day, January 1st in Pasadena, California since 1890. Beginning in 1902, the parade has been traditionally followed by the Rose Parade college football game. So since I live out here in California, it's almost been like a tradition that we of course watch Dick Clark's, or better now known as Ryan Seacrest's, New Year's Rockin' Eve special that helps you count into the new year. That next morning, we would always watch the Rose Parade. Those of you who are not from California, I don't know if you guys watch it yourself on TV or if they broadcast it everywhere, but we've done this for years and years and years, ever since I was a little kid. Honestly, what makes the Rose Parade so cool is that practically almost all the floats are made genuinely out of flowers. So even though you may see something from far away as the camera is showing it from like a sky view, you're like, oh, that's a really cool float. It just looks like a regular parade float. But as they get closer, are all made from different types of flowers and plants. Throughout the years of the parade's long-running history, they have featured both Sesame Street and Muppet characters. They have been seen on floats, and a few have been actually turned into flower-made floats. But for this video, we are only going to talk about all the times the Muppets have made an appearance in the Rose Parade. Starting back in 1982, the theme of the parade was Friends and Neighbors. An elaborate float featuring Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog was featured. Piggy was reclining on a chaise, which is pretty much just a fancy seat with, knowing her, it's not a surprise. Kermit, decked out in a top hat and bow tie, serenaded her on his banjo. Sweetums, performed by Muppet performer Richard Hunt, and Timmy Monster rode on the float alongside several children. The float was sponsored by America's Credit Unions, CUNA, and was the first float in the parade, introducing the theme for the parade. The float was created with chamois carnations for Mrs. Piggy's complexion, while Kermit was constructed with chopped chartreuse lynching moss. The float included over 30,000 roses, including royalty red and bridal pink. The front of the float featured a Fozzie Bear walk-around, positioning his movie camera, hovering over the theme of friends and neighbors. And a huge thank you to Muppet Wiki. As you can see, Miss Piggy and Kermit were featured on the 1982 official Parade Souvenir program. In 1984, Miss Piggy was featured on a float sponsored by the YWCA, representing one giant step for womankind. On the float, Miss Piggy was pictured as an astronaut reclining in a futuristic spacesuit.
Miss Piggy, her face made of chamois gladiolas and her hair made of raffia palm, presides over the YWCA Council of Southern California's float.
In the 1990 parade, Miss Piggy and Kermit were featured once more. This time, they entered in with the Trans-American Life Company's entry called Lassoed by Love. The 55-foot-long float was decorated with roses, daisies, mums, and orchids, and featured a 34-foot-tall Miss Piggy made of carnations and roses, swinging her lasso at a moss-covered Kermit on a hobby horse. And from what I can see here, there were actually pins given out that feature a cowgirl Miss Piggy and a cowboy Kermit, which is actually pretty cool, and I'm pretty sure you could probably find this either on eBay or your local thrift store. On January 1st, 1996, Kermit the Frog was the Grand Marshal for the 107th Tournament of Roses Parade. He became the first non-human to host the event solo. The parade also featured a float based on Muppet Treasure Island, with the theme of kids' laughter and dreams. Chosen that year, well-known Muppet performer Steve Whitmire, aka Kermit, drove through the parade in the Grand Marshal's car. At Muppet Fest in 2001, Whitmire said that that day was the most difficult job he had with the Muppets, as he had to keep his arm up over his head for almost 3 hours. At San Diego Comic-Con in 2015, he noted that Brian Henson gave him a plaque afterwards. Can you imagine that? 3 hours in the parade route, in the back of the car, like this. In conjunction with the parade, in which Kermit wore only his conventional collar, he also addressed an audience to make a speech wearing a frog-sized Grand Marshal jacket.
I believe that our dreams really do come true. Well, I mean, how else could you explain how a talking frog from a backwater swamp today stands before you as Grand Marshal of the 107th Tournament of Roses, wearing a red jacket and half-finished pants?
In another tape segment, Kermit and Miss Piggy discuss what it takes to be crowned Queen of the Rose Parade.
Rose Queen and her royal court are outstanding young women chose for their academic achievement, their poise, their personality, their commitment to the community.
Yeah, well, that's got me written all over it.
Treasure Island float featured Kermit, Fozzie Bear, Gonzo, and Stather and Waldorf, all in their Treasure Island personas. The float itself won the Humor Award for the most comical and amusing entry. The float itself was sponsored by Kodak. It seems like they were keeping with the tradition of that year of every time that the Muppets were featured in the Rose Parade, they would actually give out a cool pin. The 1996 parade, they actually gave out 2 special pins. One where Kermit is holding a bouquet of roses along with a blue circle next to him that says Kermit the Frog. And there's a pin with Kermit and Piggy dressed like pirates, and it says 96 Kodak. And to add another cherry on top, it looks like they had several white hats made that says Tournament of Roses 96 Grand Marshal, with Kermit's face right in the middle smiling at you. Unfortunately, we wouldn't see the Muppets featured in the parade or have anything to do with the parade until 2021, where Kermit the Frog conducted a performance of high school seniors from invited bands by video conference for the 2021 parade broadcast. The segment was included on both the ABC and NBC broadcasts. So, leave me a comment below letting me know what are some other special events or parades or anything else you can think of that you actually seen the Muppets be a part of and you would love me to cover it here on the channel. Thank you for all your support throughout this entire year. You've been amazing, you've been awesome, and I hope you enjoyed all the videos. If you enjoyed this Puppet related video, do me a favor and go check it out right here on the screen. I think you'll enjoy it, and I'll see you over there. Until next time, Happy New Year, everybody.